China has filed an official complaint against the EU. China's government has officially filed a complaint with the world's largest trade organization against the European Union, EU, over its recently launched increases to tariffs on electric vehicles (EVs) from the country. On Monday, government officials in Beijing lodged a complaint with the World Trade Organization (WTO) over the EU's recent passage of increased tariffs on most EV companies producing vehicles in China, as detailed in a report from Bloomberg. Officials made the complaint to the WTO's Dispute Settlement Division, saying that it did so to safeguard the development interests of the EV industry overall, as stated by the country's Commerce Ministry. The ministry also called the tariffs trade protectionism, saying that the bloc did not have a justification for violating international rules on imports and exports. China believes the EU's final ruling on anti-subsidy measures lacks factual and legal foundation, violates the WTO rules, and is an abuse of trade remedy measures, said one Commerce Ministry spokesperson. We urge the EU to face its mistakes and immediately correct its illegal practices, and to jointly maintain the stability of the global electric vehicle supply chain and China-EU economic and trade cooperation. Chinese automakers asked to pause expansion in Europe under the tariffs, which were passed by the EU early last month before going into effect on November 1st. SAIC faces the largest levies, with an additional 35.3% tariff, while Geely and BYD follow with 18.8% and 17% rates, respectively. The vast majority of cooperating companies will be offered a 20.7% tariff, while Tesla's rate was brought down to just 7.8%. All of the aforementioned rates also come as an additional charge, on top of the 10% rate mandated for all imported vehicles. The EU and China had $806 billion in bilateral merchandise trade in 2023, and China is the country bloc's second-largest trade partner. The EU is also set to send officials to Beijing to continue the discussions, as confirmed by EU Trade Chief Maros Sefcovic this week. The official also highlighted the need to rebalance the country's relationship to each other, and the European Commission has highlighted plans to address multiple other related issues. We are not interested in trade wars, Sefcovic said. The news comes after months of failed negotiations on the tariffs, and after one EU official said in September that negotiations would likely continue on the import duties even after the newly passed proposal went into effect. Last month, a different official highlighted that a new deal between China and the EU would be unlikely, adding that there was significant complexity with the issues in question. Specifically, China's officials have been arguing for a minimum EV import price for the tariffs that could replace the legislation altogether. Despite this, talks have been at a standstill, and the EU has highlighted past minimum price efforts in solar that have led to 90% of the EU's solar market coming from China. Xpeng still committed to Europe despite looming tariffs. Source: reposted and summarized from Zachary Visconti at teslarati.